All right. Welcome, everybody, to Exploring the Metaphysical. Yay. Welcome back to
Yay.
those
Hi.
who have um, been here in the past for our monthly sessions. And if you're new, thank you for joining us for the first time. I am very happy to announce we have um, Jae Marcus, the MaJESStic Oracle, with us, and she's going to share about crystals. Just take a look at her picture and you can see she knows a lot about crystals. So I'm going to put people on, ask you to mute yourselves. I don't want to mute you because then it's difficult to unmute. But if you would go ahead and mute yourself if you're not already, and let Jay take it away. Thank you so much, Jay, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mary. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay. And just a little brief kind of background on myself and how I even got into crystals. Um, my my family on my dad's side have always, worn like lots of jewelry, whether it was turquoise or, big rings and, big bangles. And that was kind of the look in the 70s as well. But so my dad always and my grandfather always, wore turquoise a lot. And my first stone that I ever got was from my great aunt. Her name was Mama Tessie. And she gave me a tiger's eye gold ring. And it it was like a tiny little bead, but the entire ring itself was very, for a sixth grader, it was like a lot. But in our family, it was normal. So I was in, sixth grade, or no, actually, I'm sorry, I was in third grade. And I wore it to school. And there was just something about the tiger's eye, it was brown tiger's eye, that it was just something I loved. It was the color, it was when I touched it, I would get certain emotions. And um, the name of it also correlates with how, um, bold and fearless and courageous and things that the energy itself made me feel. Now, at that time, I didn't know that each type of stone had that type of energy to resonate. And so, long story short, I was on the playground and I lost the little tiger's eye bead. They had to call me into the office because I wouldn't leave the playground until I found it. And there was all these tiny pebbles on the ground that I was sifting through on my knees, crying. And my friends were trying to find this tiny little stone. And I was devastated. I never found it, but so from then on, I was on the hunt for more tiger's eye. And so as I got older, one of my aunts gave me my first hematite and tiger's eye necklace, and I wore it all the time. And so from then on, even though I hadn't studied crystals and really knew the basics of them, for some reason, when I would get one or I would sense that I really, liked it, it happened to be the right one that I needed. And so there was times when it would, be protective stone, or I would hang it, around where I was sleeping or staying. And specifically one called hematite. It's like a grayish, dark crystal. When it's full of energy, because crystals will soak up energy, and that's kind of the purpose of partially why I wear the jewelry that I wear. But it exploded. So from then on, I was on a mission to figure out why all of my crystals were exploding. And so now we're going to fast forward. I was, born a psychic medium, and I kind of honed my abilities my entire life. And I recently, in 2020, graduated from the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, and I got my energy medicine practitioner degree in metaphysics and quantum mechanics and uh, life coaching and the spiritual basics, pretty much to kind of, perfect my craft. So from then on, I started making, I mean, you can kind of see because the heat and everything in here and the lights, but I don't know if you can tell, but I can feel it. You can see me breaking out a little. Am I red? Okay, I figured this would happen because I purposely didn't wear a stone so you could see this happening. But my energy gets so sensitive that when I have a lot of technology or lights or something, it my skin soaks it up and I turn red. I have like an allergic reaction. So when I graduated, I thought, well, now COVID hit in 2020, and now I have to figure out how to deal with all this technology and electromagnetic fields, which is what all of technology emits. So in saying that, there is a stone called shungite, and it is a black stone, and a lot of it is from Russia. But what it does is it soaks up the energy waves in which electronics emit. And so instead of my skin soaking it up and turning red and having a reaction, for instance, this is an angel wing, and it is shungite. And it also has a little bit of copper in it, if you can see that. So I have a big pyramid, but I couldn't bring it because I'm traveling right now. But I put a big pyramid usually right in front of whatever I'm doing to soak all that up. So between me and whatever is emitting, it will soak that up. So I'm gonna obviously just keep my skin red. So don't worry, I'm fine. I can feel it, but that's kind of part of it. So I went on this kind of quest to figure out how to create jewelry and make it, and in a prescriptive way, depending on what you need in your life, because each crystal will have its own frequency and its own energy that it emits and the way that it can help your body. So I started making different types of jewelry in order to help, bring that energy into what I was doing and connect it with the different, chakras that the body has. So I started making bracelets, necklaces, anklets, everything. But I wanted them to be fashionable so you could still wear them, but they had a purpose and a function and they looked good. So, I mean, Kate's got several of my pieces as well that I've made for her over the years. But so that's kind of how I started. And from then on, I started making jewelry for friends, and now it's become a thing where I do it for people, who want it, but I don't have it on a mass market on a website or anything like that, because each piece I custom make to your needs and what you want, or just even, what kind of thing you want to look for. So coming from, like I said, my family that wore jewelry over, a lot of time, I still like to keep those different timepieces that are classic in a way. So it just depends on what the person kind of wants, but I pretty much, make everything. So in saying that, I'm trying to figure out, first, is there any questions?
Feel free to ask.
Yes.
Do you think, Jay, that you are connected or drawn to a specific stone or crystal at the right time? If you're open to, they say that if you touch it, you should buy it, right?
Yeah, right.
You follow what I'm saying?
No, I totally do, because we just had that experience last night. So I'm in Florida visiting family, and we went and did a lot of the sightseeing and everything. And everybody knows, just find a crystal store for Jay and just leave her be and come back and get her later. But everyone, in the crystal store was walking around, and there's a lot of touristy people. I'm in Florida right now. And so I was walking around, and a lot of times I won't touch the stones in the store for a couple of different reasons. One, if everyone else is touching them, I feel like that I can't get the original energy, because each stone, you can transfer your energy, to it. Depending on the stone, it can amplify it. For instance, like quartz, white, quartz crystal, it amplifies anything that's kind of around it. But a lot of times I will go into a store, and if, there's crystals everywhere, there's energy everywhere, I will, ask my family, hold this, hold that, and I will go in the corner and I'll get quiet, and I will literally sense what direction do I feel pulled to. And so I walk in, so I start to turn around, and then I open my eyes, and then I will walk, towards that, and I kind of will look around, and I don't want to say they speak to me literally like words, but there's something that I know, at least I can narrow it down to like at least a foot in diameter of the area. And then I start looking, and there's just an innate knowing that I need that one. Sometimes I will not even know why, and I don't question and go over in my brain all of those things. I just know to listen to that gut. And it turns out, my daughter's the same way. When she goes out, she's like, I don't know why I got this. I don't know if you need it. She just knows, get it, get it for me. So for instance, she came home one day when I was doing a live show with another friend of ours, Ron from Ron Unconditional Love and his tarot channel. And she walked in during the live, and she gave this to me, and it is honey calcite. and it's a pendulum. And pendulums, if you can kind of see, they go to a point, but they have all of these different sides to them, depending. And so I started looking up, because a lot of times there's thousands of crystals that you almost need, like a crystal Bible that kind of explains them all. Because as versed as I am, I still can get kind of confused. And that's just not even the ones that are mixed together. And so after a while, I start to realize I don't even know I'm going to go through an issue or have a problem or have a circumstance or an event that I need this exact crystal for. And so this actually narrowed my whole life at that time, having to do with going back to Lemuria, and having the Lemurian crystal quartz and Atlantis and all of that. And I have no idea if it's the energy of the crystal, but now Mary and Kate's screen is pixelated, but nobody else's is. So this is what I mean, how crystals affect my environment and the people that I, am around, because just those two, for some reason right now, are the only ones pixelated on my screen. So you'll have to excuse me, but so yes, I will go in and I will sense. And I try not to touch them so that I don't transfer my energy. But a lot of times I will watch other people when they're, picking ones around me, and try not to choose that same one so I can get the most authentic energy from it. And I will pick it up. For instance, this is a selenite stick, and I bring this around with me everywhere. I have it in a little container, and I just slip it in my pocket, or I will slip, this is a selenite heart, and it's very thin, and I can put it in my pocket. I can put it sometimes in my bra, depending on the shirt I'm wearing. But what it does is it clears and cleanses your body, your aura, and everything around it, including other crystals. So for instance, if I want the most authentic energy, I will bring this close to it or next to it to kind of cleanse that energy. And I will kind of sit with it for a minute, and I can almost sense when it's cleansed a little bit. So in order to clear jewelry, because once it soaks up, or once a stone soaks up a lot of the energy, it, there's different ways that you can cleanse it as well. You can, do by smoke or spray, or put it in the moonlight in various ways. But it's important to take care of the stones that you are around, because that's how I discovered why my hematite was exploding. It was soaking up all of this, and I don't want to say it's all negative energy, because it's not, but it was just soaking up all of this energy around it that it couldn't do anything else but just explode. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to glue it back together because it's done its job. That's what it was supposed to do. So that being said, I have a lot less crystals that explode now. And a lot of times if I'm wearing jewelry like a ring on my finger that's a hematite, and I'm talking or I'm stressed out or whatever, it will just explode off of my finger. And that's when I know, darn it, I should have cleansed them. But stones that also are really good at soaking up energy is a stone called black tourmaline. And I'll go over maybe a handful of the ones that I use, because everybody, I think, would have a different basic level of the ones that they want to do. My suggestion, as far as any crystals you've ever worked with, if you're drawn to it, whether it's beautiful, even if it's ugly, there are stones that is like, that's not really, just, because they can come in different shapes and sizes and raw materials. So for instance, this is black tourmaline inside of clear quartz. Okay, there's like these little stick shavings that are black, and they soak up the negative energy and just energy in general. Now, it being mixed with clear quartz is an amplifier. And a lot of people, whether they believe in crystals or not, a lot of times they don't realize that they're in everything that we do. Your phone that you're on, the computer you're on, the electronics, the radio, all of the medical equipment we use is all designed from a crystal. And that's where the original crystal quartz watch came from. And inside the crystal quartz watch is a tiny little crystal that looks like this in my hand, which is the tuning fork. And what it does is each crystal, depending on the color, the frequency, and how or where it's grown in the world, has its own emittance of energy. So as I'm trying to find, just give me one moment. So when there's a, it's called piezoelectric effect. And when you put pressure together in a manner where it starts to heat up, it will conduct electricity. So for instance, going back thousands of years, the Egyptian pyramids were built off of this piezoelectric effect. And the sand has quartz in it. So the way they were able to move and build their entire cities and their pyramids, they would put heavy, heavy pressure on the stone until it built up enough force to create electricity where they could harmonize it and actually move it across, different areas. And when it comes to specifically quartz, when you rub them together and you get heat involved, it will light up. And so a lot of the cities back in the day would be lit up by rubbing these stones and having heat generated, and then they would just keep recycling. So they would take, certain ones and they would put them in different areas of the city, and they would stay lit kind of for the night. Then a second set would come and they would put pressure. And so it was just kind of like how you used to wind your watch. You wind that, you get things going, and then it holds time. It has a frequency that holds the time the best. And that's where the quartz watch originated from. And so a lot of the radios and frequencies of that. So that being said, all the crystals that you own are programmable, like just how you can program, a computer system or something like that, because it holds memory. And so when you can program it, once I find a crystal and I get the one that I think I need, or if I need it for someone else, they say, I'm having this issue or this problem, or I'm working on myself, or I want to heal the different parts of my body. What should I do, or what should I get? So once I, have them get it, or if I get it myself, I will sit with it and clear it first. There's a process I go through where I take the stone and I first bring it home. I will put it on selenite. I will take Palo Santo smoke, or put it in the moonlight, and I will clear it so it has the best energy. And after I'm done with that, I take this tuning fork, and the frequency, if I can, is 4096, and it's actually the Jacob's ladder frequency and angelic frequency. So what I do is I take this little piece of wood and I take this and I will put it on a crystal. First, I will hit it. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm trying not to be too loud, but it has a really, really high, tiny sound. I will hit it, and once it starts to vibrate and make this high-pitched sound, I will just touch it to the crystal lightly. And what that does is it brings it back to its dominant oscillatory, frequency that's at the very beginning. So all of the structure within stones can get thrown off kilter. If it's around different things or around different stones, its original vibration rate that it kind of moves to, just you can't even see it, but everything is moving in the world, and it's constantly vibrating. So if it gets off or something is off, just like your body, you have to realign it and retune it. A lot of people will listen to music frequencies or just great music in general, just to realign themselves and make them feel good. It's kind of the same way to work with crystals. So if you're, for instance, if you're trying to focus on relationships or love, you want to use like rose quartz, which is a pink. And I'm just realizing my daughter has it as a teen. We want to make sure they have the best, relationships. But so I will clear that with the stone. And if they want to work on that, then that would be the heart chakra, because there's stones that go with each chakra. And because our chakras, our thoughts and our chakras and our whole entire aura is made up of different frequencies, the best way to utilize a lot of the crystals is to match the color with the chakras that go from red, orange, yellow, all the way up your body. And that's how you can, even if you're not versed on crystals at all, just match the colors together if you're trying to kind of enhance what it is you want to work on. So if it's relationships or anything like that, you can use, rose quartz. So then I will take the stone, I will hold it, and I will say, so-and-so, I'm programming this, or I will say like a prayer. There's certain angels that I call in. For instance, if it's healing, it would be Archangel Raphael. And if it has to do with love, marriage, just anything in general, I will ask, and I just hold one at a time, so I don't kind of confuse them. And I'll hold them in my hand once I've cleared them, and I will set the intention and just get very quiet and tell the stone, this is what I want to work with. This is the energy I want to put into it. And then I just embody my entire being with thinking about the things that I love, or the maximum effect of that topic that I'm, working on. And then I set it aside, and then it sits there. So it's programmed. So now whenever I pick it up, certain stones, I'm like, I can't use that rose quartz because that is for loving myself. This one is for my relationship with my husband. This one is for my relationship with my daughter. So each one I have. So if it's like, if we're having a tough time or I'm doing this or that, I grab the one, or I have a family one. This is for my love of my family. I have it one for, our YouTube family. And, I have one that I think of when I think of Kate. Like each person that I know in life, I don't have a crystal for each one, but there is a special place in my heart for my relationships. And so, I'm sorry, there's a cat eating one of my, hun, can you come get my breakfast? The cat's getting it. I'll just, she wants to make an appearance. And okay, so this is my sister-in-law's naked Egyptian cat here. Say hi. Yeah. So this is the one that's crawling all over. So you'll have to excuse me because there's 12 of them. I think there's 12. Yeah. So sorry. Where was I? Programming.
Yes.
So once I have them, programmed, they're set that way. And I can deprogram them as well and clear that energy, if I want to. But each one I have for different things. And so I decided, instead of walking around with, let's say this is black obsidian, it's a heart. Instead of walking around with these size crystals all over my body, because I will have pockets and I'll have like a purse, or I'll put them, on my person. That's when the jewelry came in, where I thought, hey, it's functional. It's not really heavy because, each, depending on the thickness of the stone, some of them can be extremely heavy. And so normally a lot of my wash machine bins, instead of having change in them, it'll be crystals from my pocket. Yeah. Another little tip is I like to keep these little bags that they come in. They're little drawstring bags. And so instead of having them separate everywhere on my body, I will have a bag for each. Well, let me just get one out really quick. I will have a bag that has like a group programming where I have different stones inside the bag, for instance. So one of my bags contained what's called labradorite. And it is from Canada, but it is a luminescent, like green. It's got so many, you can see the colors when I'm flashing it. Actually, you know what? Let me get my favorite one. Okay, so here we go. It's got green and blue. And I don't think you can see it. It looks like a dark green from what but it kind of reminds me a little bit of shell when you look at the different colors and you turn it, and it looks like it's changing color. So as far as, the little bags, that way I tie them or whatever, and I can program the entire bag. And so that bag is, separate. So that's a good thing. Also, it keeps them from moving around and rubbing together and breaking or chipping, just depending on if it's a smooth one, because there are, stones that come, let's say, in raw form. I mean, they're designed and they're cut in a certain way. Like this is a selenite tower. And you can see this, my dad always jokes with me, he's passed away, but he still jokes, that it looks like a drill bit. If you can kind of see, yeah, he was always into like being Mr. Fix-It. So he's like, that looks like a drill bit. So this was one of the first ones. So when it comes to like my jewelry or anything that's round, I will put this in a container that's like a little plastic container. And then I will take, let's see, I'll take, for instance, my bracelets, and I will put them on there like this. And then all my bracelets go all the way up, and I've got towers all over my room. So at night, I take my jewelry off, I take my bracelets, and I put them all on towers and set them, on the windowsill if I'm cleansing them or whatever. That way, I don't have to individually, it's just a way to cleanse a bunch at the time. So I either have them inside of my jewelry case, or, have them sitting, somewhere, but it's just a great way to be able to figure out how to clean the stones. And so if they are small ones that are like, palm stones, this is clear quartz and it's citrine and it has Archangel Uriel you can kind of see embedded, but it also has something called organite. And organite is they're tiny, tiny, tiny kind of golden colors. And what they do is they amplify, kind of like copper. They will amplify the energy even more. So it becomes stronger because you've got your normal energy of the crystal, and then you can enhance it in different ways to, get it to, be stronger, especially and size does not matter in this way, because I've had some of the tiniest stones resonate the most powerful frequency, and some of the bigger ones not really feel like they're doing anything. I also have a tower like this at home that's selenite that I have wrapped copper around it all the way to the top. And I use that to generate the energy. So when I want to clear myself, I will take this and I will just comb my body, my aura. I'll do this literally just like a shower. I will do this. I'll ask my daughter or my husband to get my back. And I'll go all the way down. And so this is clearing, because your aura has different layers. So it's clearing and doing all that. So this one is, like I said, my raw one. And I will put tiny little, a lot of people use this to just kind of hold in their hand and just fiddle with. Some stones, they're called palm stones. You move them around in your palm and you get the energy centers here. They get friction and they get a little bit of heat. And once you do that, you can almost feel the energy a lot better. Because some people say, I don't really feel anything when I touch them. And sometimes you won't. It's just not resonating with what you want. So if you're thinking, this stone is supposed to be for this, according to the book. Like, for instance, amethyst is really good for dreams. I've never resonated with amethyst except for one stone. And that was one that Kate had gotten my daughter, and it was a pendulum. And that's the only one. But otherwise, when it comes to dream work or the third eye, I will use a stone called shungite. That's purple. As long as it's the same color as the chakra that I want, I will use that. And if I can find it here, is there any questions while I'm trying to figure out where my other notes are?
So far, it's fascinating. I'm learning a lot. Thank you.
Is it? I feel like I'm all over the place. I'm really going to be honest.
You're doing fine.
Because I'm trying to kind of figure out, okay. So when it comes to having the stones, and once you get them and you program them and you set your intention and everything, then it's how is it that you work with them? How do they help, or what can they be used for? So my go-tos as far as what I would recommend, because everyone can be different depending, but you always want like a basic stone that will be for protection purposes or grounding. And that would be, my go-to is black tourmaline. And that's the black stone I was saying that is in this, that's kind of got the lines in it. And I've got, the big ones everywhere, and I couldn't travel with them. But those are ones that will, if somebody is around you or you go around in public, that will soak up, like, my skin, that will soak up the things that are around you the best. And once they do that, they also have a little bit of something called mica in it. And it's kind of like a silvery sheen to it. And black tourmaline is an electropesic stone that generates heat and energy when friction or heat is around it. So I'm going to give you a little fun fact. When I was in school and I was getting ready to do a lot of my ending work, where I was doing papers and thesis and all these things, at the time where we were living at, we had, my nephew was just born. And so I needed a quiet place to study. So me and my husband and my daughter, we got a hotel room so I could basically study and just do my work there. And I had a huge black tourmaline and mica stone that was about this big. And I had it on the floor next to my suitcase. And I was going through my clothes and everything, and I was just stressed out, and I was moving stuff. And like when you have your foot on carpet and you're walking, it builds up static electricity. Well, the stone was next to the plug. I'm, messing around. My energy is going, the kinetic frequencies are building up. Next thing you know, the wall socket turns black. The lights blow out. My room and the room next to me on the right and the left, all of the power blew out.
Wow.
Yeah. And it freaked me out because I thought, oh my God, the wall is black. How much is that going to be out of the deposit? One. Two, when I called the hotel, oh, there's 2 other rooms that are out. We are so sorry. Oh, long story short, they ended up giving us the room for free. Now, I went down, yeah. So that was part of my thesis paper because I knew what it could do, but I'd never experienced it in the way that all of that energy had built up. And the stone had soaked up as much as it could. And instead of the stone exploding, the nearest, electrical line was the plug. And so that exploded and turned the wall black and burnt all of that out. And it just went to what was next to us, what was touching us. Thank God it didn't do like all the entire floor. But that's what I mean about a crystal being this big can knock out 3 power rooms in a hotel, And so when you move them together, so that's another reason why I have them in bags, is because if there's too much friction, they will build up in my pocket and I'll get this like electrical feeling like I'm getting kind of tased a little bit. It's fun sometimes, but other times I'm like, my legs feel jittery. And then I realize I don't have my stones in a bag. They're rubbing on my shorts or my pants or something, and I need to be careful.
Wow.
But that being said, just like you would ground energy in anywhere else in a power system, I also make anklets. And so on this anklet is a shungite bead. And what I do is I put these on my ankles and my wrists and my neck. So it's covering my entire, if you're, north, south, east, west. So this is a shungite. It looks like a donut. And then I take the beads on each side. This light colored, silvery colored one that you see shining right here, that's hematite.
Hematite.
These brown beads right here are tiger's eye, my original stone when I was in 3rd grade. So what I do is I have this and the shungite will soak up, and ground me. Then as this goes around, the hematite does the same thing as well. So I have a lot of my ones will be dark in color, but, I may add different, gold accents to it or whatever, but I have one on each ankle. So that way, when I'm going around and I'm touching things, or if I'm in public, like I've been this weekend, it helps me stay grounded to where I can, try to stay more focused and I don't get, scattered or whatever. But this is very helpful when you're trying to work with your normal energy and then having the programming of the crystals, because then they help just keep that balanced and keep it stable. And then if I feel off, I take my jewelry all off and I will go out and I will cleanse it, whether I take, sage smoke or Palo Santo smoke, to get all of that off. Because once it's soaked up, now I'm just walking around wearing that bad energy. It may look good, but I can feel, I'm like, and so another thing is when it comes to the energy of whatever you're wearing, if it feels heavy, a lot of times it's because it is. It's heavy with energy. It's heavy with emotion. It's just heavy in general. And so I've been able to, a lot of times when I get a new crystal, I will sit with it and like a kid, I will play with it. I'll look at the different colors. I will shine a flashlight through it to see what it does. And after a while, I will take a picture. And then after I work with it a while, like for instance, this is rainbow fluorite. And this piece of white, you can kind of see this little white line. When I first got it, that white line wasn't there. Now, this I use during school because there's rainbow fluorite and then there's green fluorite and purple fluorite, and there's different colors. But the rainbow fluorite in particular really helps you focus. So like I will recommend this to a lot of parents who have kids in school if they're trying to study. I tell them if they don't want to wear it, because some kids don't, just have it next to their computer or something, and not necessarily if they don't want to program it, but just the energy itself, it does its job. So after a while, I started looking and these little cracks and lines formed in it because it was just what I was going through. And so this is very close to cracking. And I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a line through there and through, they have different stripes. It's
Yeah.
a chevron pattern, if you can tell. But the
gorgeous.
white lines and the cracks, that's pretty much, my life at the time. It goes where it needs to go. And then when it shatters, I either keep it separately or I put it aside or I will throw it away. But my other fluorite that I keep in a bag so it doesn't cut me, because this is really sharp. This broke into 2 pieces.
Oh,
Yeah. And so I still keep them. They come together, but I keep them in a plastic bag together and then in a soft bag, and I will keep it by my computer. But you have to be very careful if they do. So a lot of times if you're worried about that, you can just get them in a
polished.
nice soft shape. Yeah, polished shape. But it's just whatever you're drawn to. Whatever you're drawn to.
Do you,
Any questions so far?
yeah, I have a couple of questions. Is
Yes.
obsidian the same as, or have the same properties as a black event,
Black
tourmaline?
tourmaline?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's different about obsidian is, for instance, because there's also mahogany obsidian, there's rainbow obsidian, and there's so many different ones. This one is like a brown mocha and black obsidian, but they have the same properties as far as grounding. But when it comes to how they're formed, the reason why some of them look the way they do compared to black tourmaline kind of being a more dull and dry look in general, it's because when they cool, when they're like, for instance, a lot of obsidian will come from volcanic, lava and ash. And so when it cools really quickly, it forms the way it's going to form. So it's really shiny and black, as opposed to black tourmaline. They can shine it up, but its original form is not that shiny. And so the different, colors, like for instance, this is the brown color because it's got more iron in it. So anything that's kind of brown or red is going to have more iron. A lot of times, this is not to be, substituted for, medical advice or medication or seeing your doctor at all. But someone who's had, medical problems her entire life, part of my healing journey was, I was in a car accident and I ended up, being really ill and having a lot of pain and being diagnosed with fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis. And I couldn't get out of bed for many years, and I was on a lot of pain medication. But when I started in school and I started going through all of these crystals, I actually put all of that into remission. My rheumatoid levels aren't, I'm not saying I completely cured myself, but I'm nowhere near I was, and I'm about to be 45. So at 25, when I had my daughter, I could barely get out of bed, I could barely move, and I was on a lot of pain medications. Now I don't take any pain medication. I try to eat right, I try to take my supplements, but I would say a lot of my key journey and what I credit my entire healing process is to crystals. And that's why I'm so passionate about them, because it's the difference between the health in general and being a functional person, because I look fine, but a long time ago I was not fine. And
You froze for me. How about
able to
you?
heal my ailments depending on, like, for instance, having rheumatoid arthritis, I would get flare-ups and my hands would swell up or my feet would swell up. Specifically, and Suzanne knows about this, blue lace agate is what part of when my hands heal up, I will put this geode stone. You see how it's like a rock, and it kind of looks like a moon rock, but cut open, it's got these little round, it's not really round, but there's different levels of color in it that go in a circle. And then the very inside is kind of, rocky and dark. But I will hold it in my hand like this, and I'll sit with it, and my hands the swelling will start to go down. So I started looking at like ones that, were specifically for, because you can, Google all this stuff or read it in books. But sometimes they didn't always work for me, to do that. So I had to realize that not everyone might have their hands, not swell up with this, but it was a trial and error thing that I was willing to do, because once it started working, I couldn't believe it. It was fascinating. It was like that, or taking, a pharmaceutical tablet. So this is my medication now, like part of my, it's part of my medicine, because back in the day, that's another reason why ancients used it. For instance, Native Americans or just tribal in general. If you've ever seen them wear turquoise belt buckles, or those like Native Americans will wear, the buttoned up collars, and then they will have these pieces of turquoise that sit right, where a bow tie would. Well, the reason is turquoise is really good for digestion. So when they were eating all of the fats in the animals on the land, in order for them not to have indigestion, they would put these turquoise stones right here on your throat, because a lot of times it comes up and it's burning, right? And it feels uncomfortable. Where the belt buckle is, it was fashionable. That was another reason I was like, I can get with that, because no one really knows what it's supposed to do, but it looks great and my stomach's not upset. So a lot of times the fashion within a culture comes from a basic level of healing and all of the stones and the things on that particular land, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I didn't realize that before, but it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I have a variety of stones, and I understand. I'm curious about the care. You're saying,
Okay.
put it by the window, or if it's a full moon or whatever. Tell me about care of
Okay.
the stone.
Okay. So the care, it depends on some of the stones itself. But it doesn't necessarily have to go in the full moon. As far as care, you definitely want to, certain stones you should not put in water or have them exposed to water. And selenite is one of those. These are the different, like the tower, because there's these long little pieces that actually will splinter off. And so you need to be very careful if it's not polished, but they will splinter off and they will almost essentially melt in the water. And it just becomes, a big mess. Or if the crystal, depending on the structure of it, it can't be in sunlight, or it will change color. And if it changes color, it starts to change the structure and the frequency of the original, stone. So it just depends on the stone itself. And so there's kind of you can, like I said, all this stuff you can Google to see, what not to put in water and what to put in water and out in this. So a general way that you can cleanse and clear, you can use anything from taking Himalayan salt or table salt, if you don't have a lot of fancy products, and putting it, in a bowl or something, and putting even just a light napkin over it, and then setting the crystal on top can clear it. If you want to put it in the window to get the sunlight, and it's okay to do that because, you don't want to have it change its color, you can do that as well. When it comes to, smoke, so Palo Santo or sage, does everyone know what those two are? Okay, either way, they're products that you burn. And I will take a little Palo stick like I did earlier, and I will go outside and I will light that, and it just kind of smokes off itself. And then I will take, for instance, if I'm cleaning my stones, whether they're in like a strainer or something like this, that a lot of people that sew and that do yarn work or whatever, they put their yarn spools in here and then they pull them out. Well, because it's mesh, the smoke can go through. So I will just, when I'm traveling, I will have the stones in here, like all these are my bracelets, or I'll take the little stones and I will put them in here, and I will literally just hold it up and let the smoke just seep through. And then I will take everything out kind of separately, and I will take like a really soft cloth like this, something that you would polish something with. This is actually one that my dad gave me when I was younger to do my car, but I've always kept it because it's really soft. And then I will take each one and I will kind of shine it and run it through whatever the stone is, or, and kind of cleanse it like that. There are sprays that you can use as well. I've made my own sprays of protection where I use essential oils to help clear the energy, or I'll spray the energy around me. But just very lightly, because you don't want to necessarily have the essential oils touching because it'll take the polish, off. But depending on how you feel that you want to do, there's so many different ways. My suggestion is just to get quiet and think, what do I want to do? Or does this stone even tell me what it wants to do? Because I've had stones tell me, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like, and so I won't do it. I won't. It's strange to kind of hear but they will and they won't function in the same way, even if I put them all together and make them, like, you're taking a bath over here. They won't do it. So they have their own way of speaking to you. And you realize that when you listen to it and then you start to work with them more and you realize I felt a lot better today when I did it their way versus the way Google said. So it's a trial and error in a way, but there's a basic way to kind of get an idea of what to do. So let's see. Cleanse by smoke, cleanse by spray, cleanse by, also, if you don't have any of that stuff, cleanse with intention. You can sit and hold the crystal and ask whoever your God is, or, certain angels, clear this crystal of any energy that it has absorbed, that is not from my highest and greatest good. And then set that intention and just kind of sit with it for a minute. And once you've done that, you set it aside and just kind of see how you feel. But once you start to work and really not think not think twice about what it is you're doing, because I've done the whole A, B, C, D. This is what the book says. This is how it's going to. And that was my learning curve that I realized, no, because just like other consciousness, they all do something different and they all speak to you different. There's been times when I've been pulled to where I live in Seattle, they have like an underground toury place where there's all kinds of shops you can look for. And they've, remodeled and things, but I was able to walk, on the higher ground and hone in and sense where the crystal store was down 3 stories and, down a mile, because that's the energy that I honed in on. And I didn't even know that there was a crystal store there. I just kind of looked at my family and I was like, we have to go that way. Well, that's not what the map says. I don't know why. So we end up there and I end up getting a stone that actually saved my life a couple of times. So there's just weird ways, even they have them at thrift shops. I've gotten some of the best stones from secondhand stores. You go into like the little case where it has, grandma's pearls and so donated this and that. And I found some really key pieces that spoke to me. And one of them is a Lemurian quartz. And I'll look at it and just kind of get a sense. Do I want to touch it? Do I not want to touch it? There's been times when I'll touch a crystal and I will almost faint because it is so strong. And sometimes I'll put it back and I'll say, no, I don't, want that. I had a selenite wand that was about this long, that I went to go get on my birthday with my daughter. And the selenite plate that was next to it was even stronger. So the lady at the store had me sit down and just, promise not to sue her. But it was my energy that was, affected by it. And it just, see, there goes Kate. I don't know if you can see it, but Kate's screen just pixelated.
Nope, not for me. Sorry.
I know, but if you guys could just really yeah.
So how do you use?
I was thinking of that.
How do you use a selenite wand?
Okay, so the selenite wand, they can come in different sizes, but the tiny one, where did it go? The tiny one that I travel with, what I do is I just keep it on my person, like in my pocket, or if I'm out somewhere and I'm feeling like, I'll take the tiny wand and quickly do this, just like you would wash your hands when you're done and you get in the car or you're about to eat, not do it, but when you're about to eat, but like, for instance, we were out yesterday with all these people and everything. When I got into the car, I took it out of my little container and I was like, oh, and I just kind of, waved it over. You can do that with the crystals too. And so, and then every night I come home and I make sure that the stones that I do use to clear other stones, I actually will make sure that those stones itself stay strong, and that I take the tuning fork and I will have the bracelets go around it like that. And I will stick the tuning fork on the top so it resonates all the way to the bottom. So it clears all the stones that are on it as well. And it just puts the stone back to its original frequency at which it was vibrating at when it started growing in general. And that's always going to be the dominant frequency that a stone will resonate at. They're all different, but it will bring it back to its basic healing property and reset it for you. That's the purpose of it.
Okay. I have a selenite wand that I use for
I like
shamanic practice.
There, I was going to say the other thing you can do is for cord cutting, or different types of shamans will do it. So it just depends. I mean, because I've got a jet one that I use for cutting cords. And it kind of looks like an ink and arrow, or like a flat arrow. And another thing, when it comes to the shape, a lot of times it is in a shape, whether it's for beauty purposes or what have you, but the purposes of, let's say, like a double pointed, point, like for instance, this one isn't double, but this
Yeah,
is a
this is a
pendant
double.
that is, yeah. So that way the energy, depending on where it points to, will go up and it will go down.
Mhm.
So for instance, something called the Metatron's cube or the Merkaba this is a, I don't know if you can see it, a red jasper, but it
Oh.
has all of the main shapes within the platonic. So each one kind of sticks out into little points. But because, and if in its totality, when you see orbs or you see spirits or whatever, and they're in a round bubble, what that is this particular shape vibrating and moving very, very fast, and it starts to become an orb. But originally, this is what's considered an orb. It's all of these little points put together. So Archangel Metatron, that's how he's named after this platonic solid, because when you look at certain, like for me, when I see angels, they'll be tiny little, pieces of, they kind of look like light up little sprinkles or like fairies that you see in the corner of your eye. But when I started seeing spirits and things, I would see them in the corner of my eye because they can only travel a certain angle within certain dimensions. So the reason for having the different shapes, depending on what you're working with and the type of energy you're working with, that part matters. But if literally you want the shape of a cross or an angel wing or a butterfly, for instance, I've got rose quartz butterfly earrings. And if you can see the butterfly at the bottom, I love the shape of the butterfly for the wings and all, but I also have each stone right here is actually clear quartz with black tourmaline inside the tiny little pieces. So not only the reason why I mix them is because if I want to stay grounded or if I want to stay clear or keep this piece clear, I will add selenite and tourmaline to ground it, clear the energy, and keep it clean at the same time. So it's all in one piece of jewelry. So you've got all the key pieces and it looks great, is my point. So you can have it in different shapes, yeah. But if I'm working, like you said, shamanically, and I have an intention to do something, sometimes the shapes will matter in what you're trying to achieve.
Great. Well, it's hard to believe, but it's already 4:00.
I know.
We're at an hour. Our time is 4:00. And yours is what, 7 p.m.? Thank you.
Yeah.
Or 6 p.m.?
It's 7, yeah.
7. You're at 7. See, time and I don't get along. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Angela, I saw you first.
I just have a quick question, Jay. Did you say you lived in Seattle? Because I'm in the Seattle area. Oh, good.
Yes, I live in Seattle, but I'm visiting Florida right now.
And then do you have a website where I can get in touch with you?
I don't have a website, but yes, you can get in touch with me. I think, Mary, did you put my
I put your email in the chat. Yes.
Oh, in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Check the chat for her email address. Yeah.
And then what stone in particular would you recommend for healing and strengthening the sacral chakra since it's red?
Okay, well, we have the base chakra, the sacral chakra is the second chakra, and that's the orange chakra. That one, and so any orange stone. Carnelian is really good. It helps with creativity, but to strengthen that as well and to help with courage. You can use orange calcite, any orange stone. So you want to match, with the chakras, and a lot of times if you're unbalanced sometimes in a chakra, for instance, you can take an opposing color to try to balance it. But as far as what you're saying, sacral wise, I would say carnelian or, orange calcite is good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Diana, Charisse?
So I have what may be an unusual question.
Okay.
I'm a trans woman. I've been transitioning since last fall from a biochemical standpoint. Last year, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And what's been ironic is that being physiologically male was killing me as well as energetically. So, like I said, I'm in process. And my question is, what stone or stones do you think would be appropriate to help me keep things in balance, to facilitate my transition, and also keep me healthy?
Okay. Well, one, just off the bat, kind of the hit that I was getting is some of the energy you're feeling or the emotions you're feeling are past life. So a lot of time, I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, you can come into this life and not feel like you fit in any way, shape, or form, and you can't figure out why. And there's a tie, like when we were talking about cord cutting or taking a wand or whatever, there's a certain tie and a certain way that you can cut the energy cords that begin to heal. In that way, not that you're broken, but between the heart, the mind, and the body, I would suggest rose quartz for healing, whether it's in this life, past life, but just realizing that how you're feeling and where you want to be is okay. You know, like that's really important to be able to balance that. So I would say rose quartz. For the area within that region, I would say anything red or orange and even black, but you want to kind of stay with those color chakras to balance that out. I'm trying to think, what was the other component of the question? Healing in general, staying balanced, correct? You were saying?
And to facilitate
Oh, okay.
to facilitate the transition that I'm going through. I mean, I've been astonished at how well and how rapidly my body's been adjusting.
Mhm.
Because I tried transitioning over 20 years ago and didn't have quite the same effects. To
Mhm.
your point about past lives, whenever I have looked at inward at my past lives, they've always been, I've either been like an Amazon warrior or a mother, with a family.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
almost never male. So,
Right. Well, that makes sense. Okay. Well, if you already even know that it's Amazon, I would look into that specific culture and see what calls to you, because you're going to know that that is what resonates. And that's how I've done it myself to try to figure out in past lives. For instance, I incorporate a lot of Egyptian and Incan, just different types of cultures that have helped me heal with past life, trauma as well. But there's a stone called Unakite, Unikite, I believe, and it's an orange, not an orange. I'm sorry, there's orange in it, but it's a green stone, and that's also heart chakra, because rose quartz, is pink, but it's heart chakra centered. That's really good for balance and hormones as well. That was something, because I have to be on, um, you know, birth control pills because I've got endometriosis. So I can't have a cycle without being extremely sick. And I didn't want them taking everything out. So I just stay on those. But a way that I helped kind of balance all of that, I was wearing a lot of Unikite to help. And so you can also look up, because sometimes, like I said, if I recommend a stone and you look at it or you start to look it up or touch it and it doesn't feel right, that's okay. It might not be for you in that way, but just the general imbalance, there's so many different ones to balance. Moonstone is another one, which is this one, and it is a kind of a sister or cousin stone to labradorite. And moonstone, this has black tourmaline, but it's a white stone, kind of a white, and it almost looks like opal or luminescent. And that's really good for emotions and mothering, because Cancer, you know, is the sign for the moon. Like that's the sign that it correlates with. So the Cancer energy is the mother loving energy as well. So that's really good for balance, and especially during full moons and new moons. You might want to work with it a little bit more, because just like a woman's cycle that comes when they're PMSing or whatever, that helps stabilize it. And sometimes you have to go through those emotions depending on the time of month it is. And so I think that will help you, balance. And, but knowing just Amazonian and woman in general, you're half the battles there. It's just about getting quiet, because I'm sensing that one, you're just almost waiting for that light. It's already there. It's shining, but you're waiting for it to ding. So just try those different ones and see how you feel. But I'm looking at your aura and it looks great. I feel like you're going in the right direction, where things are going to sort of match up energetically, the way you feel on a soul level and moving all the way out, and having that whole acceptance. But I feel like you're comfortable in your skin. You're just waiting for things to kind of change. And and almost form in the way that you knew to be. And so I want to commend you for that, because not a lot of people want to continue or just go on that journey in general. But I can tell you, you know where you need to be, and you're just kind of waiting for everyone to catch up and be like, see, everyone, this is because there's a whole glow about you that I can already tell that you're, stepping into even more, where you're like, I'm almost there. Like, let's just, it's going to be a great celebration, I think.
Awesome.
And once you do hit that, where you're looking into the past life, because you've got Dream Detective here, but I'm not sure if you've also, had dreams regarding this entire issue, or, okay, yeah. So I think that that's helpful, is writing your dreams down, because they're going to speak to you in a language that you understand, and give you messages.
Okay.
Thank
you. That was very helpful.
Sharice, did you have something also, or?
I think for me, it's about overwhelm.
Yeah.
I'm in a constant state of overwhelm because, of course, I'm supporting.
Of course.
PD, as I refer to the person now. Depending on the day, some days I'm dealing with Thornton, and some days I'm dealing with Diana, and it fluxes a lot. And sometimes I'm not sure until I walk in a room who's there,
right?
Who she is being. So I'm dealing with that, plus being very, very busy at work with a demanding job, and then supporting lots of other people. My son, some friends, other people I know, and then also trying to be politically aware, but not so aware that it makes me not sleep at night.
Right.
And I think other people are going through this too. So any advice you have, I think, could be used by everyone.
Yeah.
In a way.
High stress. Yeah. Yes. What can we do with that?
Yeah, high stress. Okay, that's a great point. Okay, well, one, having all those components in life, and just like you said, just trying to balance everything, and black tourmaline is really good, because with all of those energies, whether you're helping, it's all soaking up. There you go. It's all soaking up. So as long as you keep, that cleansed and cleared, that's great. There's a stone called lepidolite, and it's purple.
Oh, yes.
It comes in different shades of purple, but it has natural lithium in it. And, lithium is like what's in the pharmaceutical Prozac, or the depression, medication, the calming effect of what lithium does, but it's the natural lithium. So that a lot of times will keep the anxiety. A lot of times I will give people who have anxiety, I will suggest lepidolite. It's very calming. It has these tiny little, the lithium flakes are kind of shiny, just depending on the light that it hits. But that's really good for calming during this state. And it's, like I said, it's purple, so it also enhances the third eye chakra, which is here, and that's the psychic chakra. It will help keep that balanced and calm, because when you're taking in all that energy and you're dealing with all those people, a lot of times those emotions aren't even yours. They are what everyone else is bringing you, and you feel manic and crazy and all this stuff. It's really not you. And I had to learn that a hard way, because when I would take on everyone's energy, the pain would stay in my body, and it would ache in my arms, and I'd be like, I'm so tired. And whenever I go here, I'm always like hurting when I get back, and I didn't even do anything. I just sat and listened to them go on and on and on. And I realized all of that, like my skin absorbed it all, and it stayed within my body, because I didn't have anything moving that energy out or through my, different parts. So that's another reason why I put the stones on different ends of my body to move it through. So if I have something stuck here and my neck hurts, I'm going to focus on the opposite end and pull that energy through and get it away from me or off of me. So that's the importance of cleansing yourself, your stones, your environment, your car, whatever it is, because energy never dies. It just changes form. So you can't ever kill it. It will just move and reform and shape and change, but it will never go away. So it's just about managing the energies around you in order to function properly.
Makes sense. Yes. So turn it into something else, basically, right?
Yes. Transmute it. Yeah. So, just instead of, like I said, absorbing it, you just transmute it, give it back, give it away, give it to God, give it to angels, because it's not yours, but you're that medium, literally, that's in between, in helping people and doing, great work. But you don't want to be the thing that takes up all that energy to where you almost feel like you want to explode. And that's the reason why some stones explode, because they're full and that they've done their job. So don't ever cry if you break your stone or it drops and you've dropped it a million times and it just happens to shatter. it's okay.
Yeah,
It's
I've
not a
done
bad,
that a few
not
times.
bad. Yeah, it's not bad luck. It's just, it's done its job.
I have a question that it doesn't necessarily relate to crystals, but I'd be curious if you know anything about it, since you know a lot about energy in general. But have you heard of Tesla plates?
Yes.
And how do they work so I have a bracelet made from a Tesla plate I've been wearing for like the last month, and I feel totally different wearing it now. It's helping me, I think. But does it work will it enhance stones or work with
Yeah.
stones? Because it
Yeah,
feels
it
like
can
it
enhance.
does. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it does. It's kind of the same way, like when I was younger, my parents would wear copper like bangles, and they would have magnets on them, and they sell them like in the pharmacy next to the reading glasses kind of thing. It's kind of the same energy as well. But it just, and that's the other thing is the whole Tesla concept originated from, the energy of stones and plates and things. And I think if he could have stayed on that path, or things didn't happen the way they did, where his ideas were bought out for money purposes, we would have a lot more healing these days when it came to his technology in general, and what he was able to prove with science. Because technically we shouldn't even be paying for electricity, because we can get it for free, but they charge us because a lot of people don't understand how it works and how to utilize it. They think, and so that's where I like to go back to the ancients that weren't paying bills to get their electricity. They used what was in their environment, and they manipulated that, and used heat or water and conducting things to get it to, do its proper thing. So the plate, if you're feeling that it's working, obviously it is, but yeah, I
I'm
wouldn't, I
sleeping like
haven't
a rock.
really,
I can't tell you how deep I'm sleeping since I've been wearing this, and
yeah,
I didn't expect that, to be honest. I thought, let me try.
right.
So it's kind of
Yeah,
like seeing whatever stones you wear with it, it'll probably enhance their effect a little bit, I'm assuming.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you got to pick what you need, and okay.
Right. And what I was going to say, as far as, for instance, I used to wear a watch, and I stopped, not digital, but, you know, and I stopped wearing a watch when I started wearing bracelets, because like hematite, for instance, certain hematite will have like a magnetic property in it, or you will get like magnetic hematite, and it would actually stop my ticking hand from going around in a circle, because it was just, magnetically pulling it. So it would just stay at a certain thing and just tick, tick, tick. So it was the same time every day. So I would say when it came to that, I just needed to be careful when it came to magnets or having something touch something, and you don't want to obviously have it just charge. So that would be the only thing that I would just be careful of, is, yeah, it's going to enhance. So if you have, a clear quartz next to it, just know that it'll be doing a little bit, more. So, but if you're sleeping like a rock, then I think your body already kind of knows that that's what it needs.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great. Anyone else? Well, if there's any
It's
questions,
Susie. Can I just ask a really quick question?
sure, Susie.
I went to the car to hear. Unfortunately, the party is so loud.
Oh,
That
I'm
I couldn't really
sorry.
hear. But no, I mean the party is just really loud. But I mean, I just couldn't hear this. But I'm so glad it's recorded. But I did want to. I just came to the car to ask a question. Because my son's girlfriend went to a crystal shop, and for Christmas she gave me this little bag of crystals, and they're like little pieces of crystal, and I don't know what to do with them. I mean, they're really small, I don't know if
Uh-huh.
it's just that kind of like a silly purchase. And I mean, not that she's silly to purchase it, but that it's a silly sale. Like what could possibly be done with I was just curious, what can be
No,
done with
I
little
know,
tiny crystals all in a bag,
right.
pieces.
I know what you mean, because sometimes you can get, just the regular ones that aren't like in beaded form, but sometimes I will put them like on my table or in my bathroom, like around a tea light candle, whether it's decoration, because the energy's still there. But if you're not sure functionally like what to do with it, you can hold the bag, kind of like potpourri. You're like, I know it smells good and it's beautiful and all that, but where should I put it? But there's
Yeah.
times when I've gotten presents like that where they know that I'm into crystals, but they don't really know how to pick them. And so when you walk
Yeah.
into a shop, a lot of times they have those tiny little pebbles, and they're like, pick
Yes.
5 and put them in a bag. Yeah, kind of thing. And you're like, it's the thought that counts. So
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of times
nice.
I will just, I'll put them like on a windowsill or something, or, just as a decorative form, depending on the color. And I just accent something, or I'll put them next to, another stone that I work with all the time. And just knowing that whoever gave it to you, their energy in general. That's how I look at it. Like, okay, if this is, you know, your son's girlfriend, then just know that maybe put it somewhere where something that your son made you, or something that reminds you of them, like a picture next to them. And so it just enhances and reminds you that that energy connects to your son, and that's where that meaning is. But you don't necessarily, if you don't want to, have to do anything with them. But I just sometimes, like I said, just put them decorations, you know, for whatever
That's a great
purpose.
idea.
Yeah.
Better than in the bag, me not knowing, you know, what they are or what to do. But thank you. And I look forward to hearing the recording. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Jay,
enjoy
in
your
that
party.
instance, could you perhaps intentionally program the crystals?
Yeah. Yeah. You can program them. A lot of times, if I get somebody like a little gift, if I go in and I just pick things here or there, I can program the bag and, you know, give it to them. But I would look at the kind of the properties or the colors or whatever. And even if you're not sure, because it's really hard sometimes if you're not versed in how they look when you get them in person, and then how you look them up online or in a book, and you're like, I don't know if that matches. You know, they try to have those little apps where they can say, you know, to match them together. But depending on the color or what you want it to do, you can take each little one or program the entire bed. But because each one can be programmed, it's easy to do. And if you're not sure exactly, add a quartz to it. And that quartz is probably, I would say, the most recommended stone to program for anything, even though it's one property and one color. I mean, it can be rose quartz is also quartz, but it's just more pink because it has a little bit more iron, and that's where it starts to turn pink and brown and light brown, and those shades are orange. So it just depends on some of the minerals that were within the soil when it started developing and growing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I had a question and it just popped right out of my head.
Okay.
Okay. Well, it's not coming right back.
Well, if it comes back, it's okay.
Okay. Oh, I know what it was. I wanted you to give us a look at your deck of cards that you use sometimes to,
Yes.
because I put the name of the deck is in the chat, but this is.
Okay, so I have a deck of cards that my sister got for me, and she thought that they were a box of stones, because you can't see through it, but they're called the stone deck. So when I opened them up, she was like, I don't, you know, they're not crystals, they're cards. And I was like, actually, it's exactly what I needed. Like a lot of the stones where I don't know I needed them. So they come in 78 cards, and they're two-sided. One side has the picture of the crystal in different forms. So we've got different crystals that have different pictures. And then on the other side, so for instance, I'm just going to shuffle this and pull a card for our group really quick. And I'm going to read to you. It says on the back of the card what it is, who needs it, where to put it, when to use it, and then a little affirmation on the bottom that kind of, you know, kind of gives you, it's almost like an oracle deck, if you want to think about it that way. So, for instance, black tourmaline. See the little lines? That's black tourmaline in its raw form. Now on the back here, and they're color coded as well. So for instance, it's kind of a darker gray on this side. So let's see here. Aquamarine, which is actually my birthstone, is the green color. And here's what the stone can look like. So they have them color coded on each side. That way you kind of know which chakra to use. So where it says here, it says what it is. And it says grounding black tourmaline is a slightly magnetized semi-precious stone with a reputation for protecting the delicate psyche from a case of the crazies and establishing power energetically and creating boundaries between you and all that surrounds you. Where to put it? Beside your door to keep emotional vampires out, on your person, like, you know, on your body, in your pocket, or everywhere. When to use it? Anytime you take public transportation, find yourself in a crowd, or hear that sucking sound of a coworker or family member demanding to talk to you and drop all of their drama on your lap. And then at the bottom, there's a little affirmation that says protect your light. So it gives you the basics of how it works, when to use. So it's, to me, it's a basic one that all people who are just learning, it has everything on this tiny little card that you ever will need. And if you don't have the crystal, I literally tell people, hold the card, sit with the energy, pull a card a day. A lot of times I'll ask, what should I expect today? And I'll start to flip through the cards. And sure enough, I'll get certain cards that I realize, or if I'm going to a crystal store, what should I pay attention to or look for? I'll pull one, or one will fly out, and I know that's the crystal that's calling me and I need to look for it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
these
also
are
have
really
a
great
deck.
ones.
It's the Archangels, Gemstones,
Yes.
and Guardians. That
Yes. How do you like it?
It's cool, and it helps me also to learn about angels. This is the angel side, Archangel
Yes, I love
Raphael, and
that.
it talks about kind of an affirmation kind of thing. I am healthy, whole, and complete. My body naturally regenerates and heals, etc. And then on the back of that same card, there's a stone. This is green tourmaline, and it goes into a little bit of talking to you about when you would need it. It's time to recognize that there's an unlimited supply of myriad of opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. So,
I like that.
Yeah. So that's just another deck that I ended up getting a long time ago, but I thought it
and
would.
that's the other thing is I'm realizing, tourmaline also just doesn't come just in black. It can be in rainbow colors. So green tourmaline. So that way you can still have the grounding aspect of it. But if you're looking for heart chakra balance or anything green, wise, you would want to use green tourmaline and work with it that way. But I like that deck because one, it helps you learn the archangels, but archangels also can go with certain crystals as well. Like for the one that's citrine and quartz, this specific archangel Uriel, that's also the solar plexus chakra. And so he utilizes healing in that way. But this one I use, for creativity and helping me get my thoughts straight and getting that solar plexus energy in general just going and having that. So anything within that zone, but I do love those cards. They're really beautiful.
They're very helpful.
Yeah.
For the novices especially. So
right.
Great.
So I would definitely suggest the crystal stone deck. Yeah. And your deck, but anything that makes it simple, because it seems overwhelming, but like I said, they're really good at speaking back to you if you're listening and just can kind of feel, and don't think that, I don't have the ability, because that's the whole point, is kind of learning it. And there's just something about them, if you're drawn to them, that you've worked with them before. It's just relearning or remembering, how they helped you. Yeah. So they're great.
Well, thank you, Jae. This has been fascinating. And I really appreciate it. We went to an hour and a half. Wow.
I know.
But there's so much there. So
it was really hard to narrow it down to the basics of 101, and then I just thought, well, I retook my notes and everything, but I'll just kind of go with what's speaking to me. And so they're all in front of me right now, in front of the table. But there is something that I also do, and I work, with a guy in Canada that I've made pieces where there's resin, and I take there's lapis, there's labradorite, there's selenite, but within this is also copper and organite. So what it is the front I designed to have the angel wings and the J. And then on the back, you can see literally there is that is a piece of selenite, tiny, tiny piece of selenite.
Got it.
Then you've got all these things that kind of look like, needles in a way. And so I designed this when I was in school. Also, when it hits the sunlight, all of this in the front glows. So then when I walk around, this thing stays glowing on my person. And so this was a way, and there's also black tourmaline in it. So what I did was I thought of all the stones that I ever wanted and needed in one thing, and in this raw form. And then he put it together, he put the resin together, he molded it, and then he put the design on the front. And then this is one of two pieces because the little toggle, the pendant part broke off. But I just, put it in my pocket or put it in my bra or whatever. But this has been one where I've really enjoyed the design, because you want something all in one, but you don't want to walk around with lumps all over your person. Like, what is that in your pocket? You know what I mean? Like, I'm aware that like a lot of times
doesn't affect it.
No, no, it actually makes it lighter, because all of these stones, after a while, they get heavy. And so, but for this amount of thickness that it is, you see there's layers of it.
Yes.
Like in the back. Yeah, there's layers. So the middle layer, that's kind of that green, that's the glowing aspect of it when the sun hits it. And so when that heats up and makes it glow, like I was talking about with the Egyptians, all of these stones then heat up and it all starts to vibrate and come out. So I had him do it in an oval, and then I programmed it to have the angel wings so that my angels as well protected it. And so it had many components to it, but it's just little things like that where I started developing a way to utilize it and make it look great and do its job. So
is that a product that you sell? Or
no,
you just had it done for you.
Yeah, I saw him on, I want to say it was on Google. I'll have to look up his information because I haven't talked to him since 2019. But he was just really good. This was, because I don't work with resin in that way. I make my designs just through my jewelry. But I wanted something, a little bit different as well. But yeah, so there's different ways that you can find designers out there that can make that perfect piece if you don't feel like, or you have it made for somebody that you care about. And you're like, it's hard with kids or grandkids too, because you're like, I want them to be protected, but if I give them this, they're gonna be like, oh, so-and-so gave me this and I love it. But so I try to think about the aspect of like, what is that person's lifestyle like, or what would make it cool? And how can I incorporate that or put a design on it where it's like, oh, he loves, Spider-Man. So let's put something that has to do, that way they're safe, they're protected, and they don't feel like, oh, this is new age stuff. Like,
no, but it's
it's just a
personalized
way
for them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great way to kind of show, especially with gifts and presents. That's my thing, is how can I crystallize or utilize the crystal to help, better their lives. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate
Thank
you being
you.
here. It's
Yeah.
you've really blown my mind, expanded my horizon here a little bit. And I know now to take better care of my crystals.
Yes.
And
I
how
mean,
to do that.
they'll take better care of you as long as you just all stay. Yeah. So, but yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to email me, and we can go from there. So I thank everyone for listening to my circular.
Contact information is in the chat.
Yes.
And just so going forward, next month, our typical second Sunday falls on Mother's Day. So we're looking at changing the date to the first Sunday. And I feel kind of awkward doing this because every time we meet, it's a different date or a different time or what.
Right.
I'm trying to keep it as consistent as possible, but finding the right mix is the challenge. But we're going to do it on the Sunday before Mother's Day. So it'll be the first Sunday in May. And I'm still trying to pin down the speaker that I wanted to have. If she doesn't come through for that date, then I have a backup plan. So I'll let you know in the email that I send out to confirm. And that'll be with this recording as well, which I'm going to turn off right now.
So the session in April, Mary, is there a session in April?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, April. I forgot. Yes, second Sunday, April.
Okay.
Second Sunday in April. Yes. Let me